I'm just grateful that she's sober right now.
Breaking news, the U.S. Justice Department now at odds with President Donald Trump over his new travel ban. It's an unusual twist, a throwback to the Obama administration. Good evening. I'm Ken Bastida.
And I'm Elizabeth Cook. This late development from Washington. Acting U.S. Attorney General Sally Yates is saying not on her watch. She says the Justice Department will not defend President Trump's executive order on refugees in court. Yates is an appointee of former President Barack Obama. She only has the job until President Trump's Attorney General pick is confirmed.
Now, the president's travel ban is sparking protests all across the country. Right now, a demonstration is happening outside the U.S. Supreme Court. House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi is leading that crowd. CBS reporter Weijia Jiang on how the Trump administration is defending its ban.
Large crowds are out in force again Monday, protesting President Trump's executive order restricting travel to the U.S. from some majority Muslim countries.
Trump does not want people like me in the United States.
Thank you. Any comment on the protest, Mr. President?
Monday morning, the president ignored questions about the demonstrations. But he defended his actions on Twitter, saying only 109 people out of 325,000 were detained and held for questioning. Others never made it to the U.S. Government officials say at least 348 people were denied boarding planes over the weekend. The White House says it's working on a 90-day review of the vetting process for immigrants, but needed to do something now before the review is complete.
The president's not going to wait. He's going to make sure he does everything in his power when he can to protect the homeland and its people. I think what I want to be clear about is that since becoming president, he's continued to take steps through executive order and otherwise to make sure that this country is as safe as it can be and that we're ahead of every threat.
On Capitol Hill, lawmakers on both sides spoke out.
The fact is that President Trump is protecting America by strengthening our vetting procedures.
Not one terrorist attack has been perpetrated on U.S. soil by a refugee from one of these countries. Not one.
Washington State Attorney General announced he's suing the government, claiming the travel ban violates the Constitution. 14 other states and the District of Columbia also say they will file suit. Democratic senators say they don't want to wait for all these legal cases to play out in court, and they plan to introduce legislation to overturn the travel ban. But Republicans have control, so the bill might not make it that far. But the minority leader says with so much public outcry, there is a real chance. Reporting at the White House, I'm Weijia Jiang, KPIX 5.
The travel ban is hitting home for refugees who sought to start a new life here in the Bay Area. KPIX 5's Jessica Flores spoke to one Syrian woman who fled her war-torn country only to face an entirely different kind of battle here in the U.S.
22-year-old Hanan Raous is studying biology at the College of Alameda. She and her family came to the United States as Syrian refugees 2 years ago. Now she wants to be a doctor.
I love America and I want to stay here.
But Hanan has another love too. Her fiancé, Anas, escaped Syria for Turkey. Hanan just got her green card and planned to fly to him, get married, and bring him back.
To see him for the first time, to touch him, to feel him, you know. And I miss that. I want really to see him.
Her dream now on hold. President Trump's executive order blocks Syrian refugees from entering the United States.
I don't blame him. I know it's his country and he wants to keep it safe from terrorists and everybody. But the refugee, they're not terrorists, you know. They want to live in peace. They want to have a house, job, school.
Amid confusion at airports nationwide about who will be let in, Hanan says if she leaves to marry her fiancé, she doesn't know if she'll be able to return. Now, her choice is between her two loves, this country and her fiancé.
Believe me, we'll stay together. No one can keep you away, and we will be together soon.
In Alameda, Jessica Flores, KPIX 5.
Operations at SFO are running smoothly again after a chaotic weekend of protests. There's a live look outside the international terminal right now. You can see it's business as usual at SFO. The terminals are clear of any protesters. Now, it's a much different scene compared to yesterday. Over the weekend, hundreds of protesters packed the airport, many of them holding signs and chanting. KPIX 5's John Ramos on the smaller group of protesters today who are still determined to help foreign travelers.
Yesterday, about 1,000 people filled SFO's arrivals terminal to protest President Trump's travel ban. And it's not hard to tell where the airport stood in that debate.
We want to really represent the very best of America here at our airport. So we appreciate all of the protesters and the point that they were trying to make. We certainly empathize with that.
The protests remained peaceful with no reported problems. But today it was much quieter, with only about 20 protesters greeting visitors from abroad. A makeshift volunteer law office was set up nearby, offering assistance to travelers or their families. Manya Agtasi, an American citizen, just wants to bring her 85-year-old father from Iran to visit his grandchildren.
I just have a hope in American people because I know they are fair and I know that they are fighters. So I'm hoping that they can protect us.
The airport says yesterday's detainees were people who were in flight when the rules changed, so there shouldn't be many more detentions happening here. But that's not stopping the protesters from maintaining their vigil.
It can't be like a one-time thing because then people will get the message, oh, they were a bit upset, but then they sort of folded, right? No, we can't do that.
At SFO, John Ramos, KPIX 5.
And several of the airlines are helping travelers affected by the travel ban. American, British Airways, and Emirates are saying that they are helping people with rebooking options. And United Airlines says that it's offering customers refunds and other accommodations.
The San Francisco Unified School District is using automated phone calls to reassure parents in the wake of executive orders on immigration.
There are existing laws that help keep your children safe while at school, regardless of their immigration status. And SFUSD staff will not cooperate with any official seeking information about your child unless they have a court order.
KPIX 5 political reporter Melissa Kane will have much more on the district's message on KPIX 5 News at 6 o'clock.
Former President Barack Obama breaking his silence over President Trump's immigration order. A spokesperson says, quote, the president fundamentally disagrees with the notion of discriminating against individuals because of their faith or religion.
In just about 24 hours, President Trump plans to announce his choice to serve on the Supreme Court. The High Court has had a vacant seat since conservative Justice Antonin Scalia died nearly a year ago. Senate Republicans refused to hold hearings for former President Obama's nominee. At the time, they argued it should be up to the next president.
We have a big decision that I have made, a very big decision, on the United States Supreme Court that is going to be announced tomorrow night from the White House at 8 o'clock. A person who is unbelievably highly respected, and I think you will be very impressed with this person.
We'll bring you President Trump's Supreme Court announcement live tomorrow afternoon right here on KPIX 5.
Well, it's demolition day in Pacifica. This was the end of the line for that red tagged apartment building sitting on that eroding cliff. The heavy equipment was called in. Workers tore into the structure and started this morning. The building along 310 Esplanade Avenue has been empty for months now. KPIX 5's Len Ramirez on a neighborhood with a whole new view this evening. Len?
Well, that's right. This demolition has been going on all day long. There's very little left of the building now. You can see that excavator getting big mouthfuls of the debris and putting it into huge trucks, which will then be taken away to the landfills. Now, this is a building site that was active during the 1960s when there was a lot more land here. Unfortunately, it was built too close to the edge, and so this was one cliffhanger ending that was very predictable.
Already threatened by erosion from underneath, the apartments at 310 Esplanade were finished off by blows that came from above. 3 high-reach excavators tore through the wood-framed apartments like they were nothing, a sort of orchestrated ballet of demolition. As this time-lapse shows, it took just a matter of minutes to reduce the buildings to rubble.
It's Kind of a sad thing, but it had to be done because I can't believe this hasn't fallen in the ocean because with the rugged winter storms we've had.
Drone footage shows how the buildings have been teetering on the crumbling cliff for years. Last year, the city demolished 2 other neighboring buildings and red tagged this one, forcing residents to move out. The remaining building was slated to be torn down, but the recent storms only sped up that process.
Essentially, time ran out. We are where we are, and the buildings, both of them needed to come down, and so we're stepping in to protect the public safety.
The city says the apartments contained some hazardous materials that no one wanted falling into the ocean. Besides the health hazard, it would add to the cost and difficulty of cleaning it up. The air around the demo site was closely monitored throughout the day.
Taking samples, and they're going to run tests, making sure that the dust is kept at the minimal level.
There are other cliff-hanging buildings in Pacifica, which for now seem stable enough, but the question is, for how long?
There's no fighting Mother Nature.
This time tomorrow, there will be no buildings here. It will be completely clear, and that is sort of a mixed blessing for the people that live on the other side of the street because they will have a complete view of the ocean, almost a 180-degree view of the ocean. But what will happen to their rents? We'll have more on that part of the story tonight at 6. Reporting live in Pacifica, Len Ramirez, KPIX 5.
Big news for the San Francisco 49ers. The team has a new general manager.
KPIX 5 sports director Dennis O'Donnell alongside now to explain who is this guy.
Well, he's a guy you know from your Stanford days, and yes. I might be in the minority, but I'm cautiously optimistic about this hire. Since former general manager Trent Baalke was fired, John Lynch's name never came up on the list of candidates that could replace him. But late last night, the 49ers dropped the bombshell on the league and hired the former Stanford safety. Now, Lynch doesn't have any experience working in an NFL front office, but owner Jed York wanted him for his work ethic and his communication skills, which he enhanced as an analyst at Fox. He apparently was one of Bill Walsh's favorite players at Stanford and won a Super Bowl in 15 NFL seasons. Lynch is aware that people are skeptical of this hire.
You know, I'm eager to earn their trust, and I think the feelings that some might have there are natural. I can't tell you that I've had, 20 years in front offices working my way up, but what I do know, I know football. I'll put my football acumen up with most in this league. I know people, and I know how to lead.
Now, Jed York is hoping that Lynch will end up similar to what the Broncos have in John Elway. Elway, you may recall, had very little experience when he was offered the general manager job there. Now he's one of the best in the league. So in the terms of being a general manager, only time will tell. Sure. You cannot evaluate his true talent in at least 2, maybe 3 years.
And an all-important draft coming up.
Yeah, and he's going to have to change the culture of that franchise.
All right. Thanks, Dennis.
A Bay Area 15-year-old kidnapped and murdered. Coming up, the man prosecutors say killed her nearly 5 years ago finally faces a jury.
Plus, a Democratic senator with a show of emotion over the travel ban and a harsh review from the president.
And it's a face that could haunt your dreams. The possible link between this creepy sea creature and early humans. It's been almost 5 years since the disappearance of 15-year-old Sierra Lamar. She was last seen on her way to a bus stop in Morgan Hill. Today, this case finally moved to the courtroom, and right away, KPIX 5's Devin Feely reports there was an emotional moment.
Sierra Lamar is dead, and this man killed her. Prosecutor David Boyd told jurors, gesturing towards the defense table. And so began the much-delayed trial of Antonin Garcia Torres, the man accused of kidnapping and killing 15-year-old Sierra Lamar nearly 5 years ago.
They also need to find some sense of closure in this phase of the situation. They need to have this guy brought to justice one way or the other.
Mark Klaus, whose daughter Polly was kidnapped from her Petaluma home and killed in 1993, accompanied Sierra's family on the first day of the trial. Because Sierra's body has never been found, prosecutors told jurors during opening statements that their case hinges on DNA and other forensic evidence that they say links Garcia Torres to the crime. But KPIX5 legal analyst Judge LaDoris Cordell says the defense is likely to attack the DNA as less than definitive.
But it still leaves wiggle room for the defense, because the defense, is likely to say, well, aren't there other people's DNA that could be consistent with what you found.
Sierra went missing on the way to the school bus stop. And in court today, family and friends were noticeably upset when prosecutors played the 911 call from Sierra's mother on the day her daughter disappeared.
They're now faced with the prospect of having to spend the next several months sitting in a courtroom listening to the last hour of their daughter's life.
In San Jose, Devin Feely, KPIX 5.
Other Bay Area headlines. A woman named Lexus Taylor is under arrest after police say she drove her Lexus while drunk. Taylor was on the Cutting Boulevard off-ramp from westbound 80 in Richmond last night when her car hit another car. The passenger in that car was ejected and killed. We're getting our first look at the man police say robbed a Scotts Valley bank last week. Cruz Vargas that became the subject of a manhunt in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Vargas managed to give police the slip a couple of times, but it all came to an end in San Jose on Friday afternoon. He was spotted running down some train tracks, then trying to hide out at a construction site. A groundbreaking this afternoon for a new retail center in East Oakland. The project, called Seminary Point, will have a Walgreens along with other smaller stores, and it's expected to be finished next fall. Today's ceremony followed years of work by city officials to acquire the land, choose a developer, and secure financing.
Some new details in a deadly attack on a Quebec mosque. Canadian authorities are charging the suspect with 6 counts of murder. 27-year-old Alexandre Bissonnette is accused of entering the mosque last night during evening prayers and opening fire. First responders are seen rushing inside to aid the wounded. Of the more than 50 people who were inside the mosque at the time of the shooting, 6 were killed, more than a dozen wounded. Police have not released a possible motive.
The White House is defending the plan to have one of President Trump's top political advisors sit on the National Security Council. Stephen Bannon was given a seat at the table, while the top intelligence and military officials were listed as optional attendees to come in when necessary. Critics say that brings politics into national security decisions. The White House says Bannon has a military background and brings knowledge of geopolitical affairs.
Meantime, President Trump is catching a little heat today for a jab aimed at Democratic Senate leader Chuck Schumer. At a news conference yesterday, a visibly emotional Schumer began crying while addressing the implications of the travel ban on refugees. He called the action un-American. Meantime, Trump had this to say.
I noticed Chuck Schumer yesterday with fake tears. I'm going to ask him who is his acting coach, because I know him very well. I don't see him as a crier. If he is, he's a different man. There's about a 5% chance that it was real, but I think they were fake tears.
The president tried to blame the airport problems not on the ban, but on a Delta computer outage and protesters.
Major tech companies here in the Bay Area are speaking out against the Trump administration's travel ban. Chopper 5 overhead this afternoon as Google workers in Mountain View gathered on the tech campus to protest the president's executive order. Google co-founder Sergey Brin says he's against it, and his company has set up a $4 million crisis fund for immigrant rights organizations. Other Bay Area tech giants also oppose a travel ban, including Apple, Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, Facebook, and Tesla. Apple CEO Tim Cook says, quote, "It's not a policy we support." Meanwhile, Ford Motor Company is also opposing the president's executive order. Both the CEO and chairman told employees the policy goes against the company's values. Ford has taken criticism from Mr. Trump for making cars in Mexico. And this month, the company dropped plans to build a new plant there.
New at 5, changes coming to the Boy Scouts of America. Less than an hour ago, we learned the organization will now allow transgender children who identify as boys to participate in scouting. Now, this comes after several high-profile cases of children being denied enrollment based on gender identity. And some good news. Former President George H.W. Bush is out of the hospital. The 92-year-old was admitted to a Houston area hospital more than 2 weeks ago with a respiratory issue. Mr. Bush spent several days in intensive care. His wife, Barbara Bush, was also at the same hospital for bronchitis. They are now both back home and doing well.
On the Consumer Watch, Alexa will soon be able to order your favorite Starbucks drink. The coffee giant has teamed up with Amazon to offer what it is calling on-command ordering. Starting today, a limited group of people who have an Amazon Echo smart speaker will be able to place their order just by using their voice. Starbucks is also launching a beta test of voice ordering through its iPhone app. No word yet on when these features will be available to everyone.
Soon I'll just be able to think about it. The coffee will already be there. If you're looking for warmer weather, we have that. If you're looking for wetter weather, we have that as well. Rain returns, find out when, coming up.
And coming up, all new at 6 o'clock tonight, a grisly twist in a murder mystery. A prominent Bay Area real estate agent strangled and buried in the mountains, and police say the killer was his former handyman. The trail of mistakes that led to his arrest.
But first, the markets closed down today. Here's a look at the closing numbers from Wall Street.
See the sunset yesterday? If you didn't, we sent out Sky Drone 5. This was the gorgeous sunset at the beach yesterday. Look at that. What a spectacular Saturday and Sunday we had. A little bit warmer today, and tomorrow actually will be the warmest day, even at 5 o'clock. We're still talking about temperatures right around 60 degrees. Not a misprint. We've got 5 places at 59 degrees. They are Concord. They are Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose, and Santa Rosa, all checking in at 59 degrees. Livermore, you're the exception to the rule, at 55. KPIX 5 high-def Doppler will be busy later on this week, will not today or tomorrow. Tonight will still be chilly, but with a milder afternoon, we will not cool down enough to get below freezing. In Santa Rosa and Fairfield, you'll drop to 34, Concord and Livermore 35, and we will stay in the 40s tonight for Oakland and Fremont and San Jose. Speaking of San Jose, pretty warm today. About 65 degrees. Watch Futurecast tomorrow. We keep the sunshine. We're going to call it the warm before the storm. There's a tiny chance you hit 70 in San Jose tomorrow for the first time since November, where our forecast is 68 or 69 degrees, but it will be quite mild. There's a good reason for that. We have a very kinked jet stream with a strong ridge of high pressure currently over California, but beginning to move out. As it moves out, sometimes the last day before we see a significant pattern change and bringing in some rain, the warm before the storm, that last day is the warmest day. That will be tomorrow. Now, the rain begins late in the day on Wednesday, but by Thursday, all of us will see some widespread rainfall. But one of the first spots to see an impact will be the mountains. A winter storm watch has already been posted, not for today or tomorrow. It's Wednesday evening through Friday. At the passes, another 2 to 4 feet of snow, adding to an already robust snowpack. Lots of snow coming up later this week. It will be windy as well. Locally, let's talk about the hour-by-hour forecast. By Wednesday morning, we're cloudy. By Wednesday evening, Futurecast says, and I agree, that we're going to begin to see some showers around. We will see the heaviest rainfall move through with the actual front Thursday morning, but despite the fact the front will be gone by Thursday morning, unstable air behind the front will keep the rain chance elevated all the way until Friday. Most of the Bay Area will get at least an inch of rainfall. Widespread flooding not expected, but a good soaker is coming to the Bay Area later on this week. Highs tomorrow, look at this, 60s at the beach, Pacifica 62, Fremont 65, Vallejo 63, and San Jose, you will be in the upper 60s. Morgan Hill, you may hit 70 tomorrow. Wednesday evening, here comes the rain. On and off rainfall throughout the day on Thursday, ending by Friday morning. And it's good timing as right now it looks like the weekend will be dry with highs once again right around 60 degrees. That's your forecast. Back with more news in a minute.
New at 5, researchers have discovered humans' oldest known ancestor, they say.
And it's a 540 million-year-old bag-like sea creature. Take a look. It's me without makeup. No. Scientists identified this thing from microfossils found in China. The creature has an elliptical body and a large mouth. Scientists believe this is the earliest step yet discovered on the evolutionary path that led to humans.
I think we look better now.
Yeah, I think it's obvious. It resembles a lot of people we know. That's it for KPIX 5 News at 5. CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley is coming up next.
And we'll see you right back here at 6 o'clock.
Night.